Well, the Mexican series was quite a success. Does that mean there's going to be more games played in Mexico or even a team?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hopefully you can still see me. All right, there I am. Sorry, I had a little glitch with the live feed there. So, hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sully. If you don't believe me, there's my lower third. You can call me Sully. Hey, those of you who are in the waiting room, post in the comments to make sure the sound is still working because I had a tech problem not too long ago. I want to make sure all is going well here. Hey, I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade, so I hopefully know what I'm doing here. This is my sixth season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been hosting Locked On MLB since the beginning of the 2019 season, and this year I'm hosting Locked On MLB, and I'm also hosting Locked On A's, where I'm putting out a brand new episode of Locked On A's as well as Locked On MLB. If you're a fan of me and you're a fan of what I'm doing here, consider that a bonus. Consider that a bonus. Someone's in the comment, and Jonathan Curran just put two speakers. I don't know what that means, Jonathan. I do not speak hieroglyphic. Just say yes, I can hear you. No, I can't. That's all. Sound on. Great, thank you. Woo! People are. It's like sometimes it's like dealing with a Riddler. Hey, let me just tell you, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Yeah, John, that would be the crap on you there, buddy. But I asked, am I hearing or not? And he said, oh, riddle me this, Batman. What is sounding off but not heard? Just tell me if I'm freaking on, okay? Hey, I had a trivia question from Friday, which was, who was the first Japanese-born player to hit a postseason home run? And Court Stell, who is a frequent listener and everyday Sully, he very confidently said Tadahito Iguchi homered in the 2005 Division Series for the Chicago White Sox. Yes, he did, but he's not the answer. He is not the answer. Someone beat him to the punch, and a couple people guessed Ichiro. Ichiro did wind up hitting a home run in the postseason, but the first one, and a couple of you got it right here. And I'm just going to, which one am I going to pick who got it right here? Well, let's just say, let me go to Scott Horstmeyer got it right. Hideki Matsui, he hit a home run in the 2003 Division Series for the Yankees against the Minnesota Twins. And later in 2004, he spanked the tar out of the Red Sox in the first three games. In fact, if Mariano Rivera got the save to clinch Game 4 of the ALCS, sweeping the Red Sox, which they were 3 outs away from doing, Matsui undoubtedly would have been the ALCS most valuable player. Later, he became the World Series MVP in 2009, which was the last Yankees World Series won, as I like to remind Yankee fans every day. A lot of stuff happened in baseball. We're going to go in the second segment. We're going to talk a little bit about who owned baseball, but there was a big series this weekend in Mexico, and the Houston Astros won the games against the Colorado Rockies in the Mexico series. It was home run derby in Mexico City, and I just want to say I was one of the people who was not thrilled about starting the season in Seoul. And some people accused me of, well, a lot of people said a lot of things, were saying a lot of things about me at that time, because that's when the Ohtani mess was going on. And I said some things that turned out, some of my hunches turned out not to be true. No need to go over that again. But I will say that I'm not a fan of staggering the opening day. In fact, if they wanted to start the season in Seoul, start the season in Seoul on opening day. That's what I don't like. It isn't that they're starting the season in another country that is what ticks me off. I just don't like staggering opening day. I like having the season's opening now, boom, the season's ending now, boom. And I enjoy when they go to different places. It's 162 games. You could mix your pitches up. I loved it when they went to London. And the series in Mexico City, it was fun. The crowds were great, and it spices things up a little bit when you have, okay, here's a Rockies Astros series in April. It's a little more interesting now. It's a little more interesting now. That was my main issue, and the series in, well, we won't necessarily get into the play in the series. I'm just looking at the great enthusiasm. This is not the first time that we've had a series in Mexico, but it's interesting to look at it based upon the context of what's happening in Oakland, what could be happening in Chicago, what will probably be soon happening in Tampa Bay, where you have situations where teams are not happy with their current situation. When I say Chicago, I mean the White Sox. They're not happy with their current situation. And it's difficult to move a franchise in baseball. Much more difficult than the other sports. We just saw the Arizona Coyotes like, it's not working out here anymore. We'll go to Salt Lake City. Okay. I mean, there's logistics that had to happen about transferring a franchise, but one of the things they didn't have to worry about is, where the hell are we going to play? Well, they'll play in the arena, the same arena where the Jazz are playing. Okay. And when the Raiders moved to Las Vegas, there was a place for them to play. Now they eventually built the Starship Enterprise there where they play in, but you can move teams around in all those other sports. And I remember looking at the stadium in Mexico City thinking, that looks nicer than the Oakland Coliseum. That looks nicer than the Trop. I'm not the biggest hater of guaranteed rate field, and I do think Chicago can support two teams, but that's a podcast for a later date. One of the things that makes the potential of a team in Mexico interesting is they can play somewhere. Yes, and they can also play in Montreal. The only places it seems like they're ready-made places, only cities where there's ready-made stadiums to put a ball team are not within the borders of the United States right now, unless you want to count the where they play the College World Series in Omaha. Now, granted, the stadium in Mexico City is only, I think, 22,000. It's not a huge ballpark, but that doesn't seem to be the problem with some of the situations. I mean, when you have teams that are having trouble drawing 10,000, having 20,000 packed in there is pretty interesting, especially playing in Mexico City, which is a larger city in terms of population than Los Angeles. Now, as Jonathan Curran pointed out, juice balls and altitude, it's higher altitude than Denver. And so it will become a joke if you played there. Not a joke that it's Mexico City, not a joke that it's a foreign, it's not part of the United States, but it's going to make Coors Field in 1995 look like a pitcher's ballpark. It's higher than freaking Denver. So obviously you won't be able to build a pitching staff there. You wouldn't be able to get anything going just beyond attracting players to play in Mexico for a major league team. Just the process of seeing every game be 12 to 11, you're going to burn out every arm. It's going to be a mess. There'll be logistics of having a team in Mexico. There's political and all these other stuff that are happening. That's above my pay grade. I'm not selling enough, DoorDash things to pay for that. However, Monterrey has a big, huge stadium, mainly used for soccer, but they have had baseball games played there. There's going to be a lot of jobs there. Apparently, Tesla's opening something there, and the altitude is a normal altitude. It's not going to be like Denver or Mexico City. It's closer to the U.S. border, And granted, the population of Monterey is still a big population, but it's not nearly the size of Mexico City. But if it's the team of Mexico, would it have the big TV money? Would it have the big attendance? I don't know. I understand it's a long shot, but the thing that Mexico has that Nashville doesn't have, Las Vegas doesn't have, Portland doesn't have, Charlotte doesn't have, Austin, all these markets you hear popping up, they don't have a place to play. And there is a place to play in Mexico, in both Monterey and in Mexico City. Long shots, to be fair. Long shots, to be sure. But, hey, it's better than sharing the River Cats Stadium. I'm just saying. But when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about an aspect of the games that were being played in Mexico that should make the Astros, well, I don't know, a little confident. Hey, let me tell you something. Mother's Day is coming up, and my mom's listening to this show. She also listens to Locked On A's. She can't get enough of me. That's how much my mom loves me. So I got to get her a present. My sons and I are going to get my mom a present. Mom, we're not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you if it's flowers or self-care essentials. I'm sure you love self-care essentials, Ma. Or, my mom actually likes practical gifts that you could actually use. So it may be some of the latest tech. I'm not going to tell you what we're getting. I am going to tell you how you're getting it. We are going to be using DoorDash. You can use a same-day delivery with DoorDash or schedule a week ahead of time. We will get savings that will make you proud of us, Ma. With the Dash Pass membership, we will save with $0 delivery fee and reduced service fees on eligible orders from Dash Pass merchants that meet the minimum subtotals. Other fees, including service fee, apply and terms apply. You too can order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 off your order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, retail store, any of those orders on DoorDash. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Do you want? Don't worry, Ma. You will get it. All right. I need to call timeout. I need to throw a flag. I need to just say, hey, let's stop the game for a second, okay? Now, what are you talking about, Sully? I say we need to talk more about Monopoly Go. Now, you may say, hey, flag on the play. You've already talked about that last week. I said, yeah, but there's so much good stuff in this game. I don't think you understand. Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you can work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends and complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every time with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton of unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always some new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover with Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or on the App Store. And you know what? Game on. Monopoly Go. Hey, where do you get your sports news and opinions? Where do you watch to get the best points of view out there? Let me tell you where you should be going. You should be making the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Stream 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Fire TV app on Amazon. part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is indeed your team every day. Hey, before we jump into what's going on with the Astros, let's talk about who won baseball for April 28th, 2024. My brother's birthday was yesterday, so if you know my brother Ted, wish him a happy birthday. Eric Fede pitched into the ninth inning, fanned 9 Rays in 8 1/3 innings. The White Sox finished the sweep of the Rays at 4-2. The White Sox are now no longer the worst team in baseball. Bryson Stott homered twice, stole a base. The Phillies won 8-6 over San Diego. Anthony Rizzo's heating up, got on base 5 times, homered, and the Yankees pounded the Brewers 15-5. And Jose Quintana threw 8 strong innings, allowing 1 run and 3 hits, setting up the Mets' 4-2 walk-off win against the St. Louis Cardinals. Half wobs go to Ryan Mountcastle, went 3 for 4 with a homer, stole a base, but the A's stunned the Orioles. Listen to Locked On A's for my thoughts on that. Logan Gilbert's having a terrific year. He struck out 9 in 6 1/3 innings, but the Mariners lost to Arizona 3-2. Jazz Chisholm Jr., not senior, got on base 3 times, homered. The Marlins lost 12-9, and guess what? They're now the worst team in baseball. And Lance Lynn pitched 5 strong innings, but the Cardinals were doubled up by the Mets 4-2. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cardinals at the end. But one thing I do want to bring up right here and right now is the fact that the A's are in 3rd place in the American League West right now should give the Astros a lot of confidence. Should make them feel pretty dang good about themselves. And I'll tell you exactly why. The things have gone badly for the Astros, who are currently right now 10 games under 500, 6 games out of first place. They're 9-19, okay? But they wound up going to Mexico with injuries to their pitching staff. Anyone not named Blanco has either been hurt or not pitching particularly well. However, what happened today? Framber Valdez, their supposed ace, came off the injured list in the high altitude of Mexico City and gave him 5 strong innings in the victory against Colorado. Justin Verlander has come off the injured list and pitched quite well. Thank you very much. Blanco has pitched well. Thank you very much. And so, and obviously they hit tons of home runs. You got to take that with a grain of salt. It's in Mexico City in the high altitude, and the Rockies pitching, which, let's face it, the Rockies are 7-21, and they're not exactly the 1995 Braves. However, the fact that so much has gone wrong for this team in the first month of the season, which, by the way, day after tomorrow, it's May. So the whole, hey, it's still April, relax. We'll be in May. You could relax, but eventually we'll be, you could start looking at the standings for real at the end of May. But the fact that nobody has taken off in the AL West should give Astro fans a little bit of comfort. The fact that they're in this division, they've started, as I said, they're 10 games under 500, and it will only take a mild winning streak to get them to 3rd place. Okay? How do I know this? They're only 2.5 games out of 3rd place. In other words, they're not going to be in first place at the end of the week. They're not. But there would have been a real possibility, because they've lost 7 of their last 10 games. They've been on a slump. They've won the last 2 games of the Mexico City series. But you look up and you see the Angels. The Angels are an absolute disaster right now. They're falling like a rock. And even Mike Trout, with all of his home runs, his stats other than OPS and his home runs, he's been fine. But the team is just a disaster right now. And they're falling like a rock. The A's have been winning series and doing a good job. But let's face it, the A's, the best case scenario for the A's, if everything aligns, has them being like a 75-win team. And the Rangers and the Mariners are not exactly running away with the division. If the Mariners got off to a start the way that, say, Cleveland has, where Cleveland is now 10 games above 500, then you might be looking and say, oh, wow, could be really rough time for Houston. But they're not. There's only, the Rangers are 1 game above 500. The Mariners are 2 games above 500. Nobody has taken control of this division yet. No one has got off to that burst of a start. So it'll only take a improved May to make all this trouble that the Astros have had and people wringing their hands and everything like that, put that in the rearview mirror. The Astros have been too good a team for too long. There's too much talent on this team. And you're starting to see some of that talent come back with players coming back off from injuries. Now, not all their hitting has been ideal. They need to start hitting better and with runners in scoring position. I know that, you know that, and everyone in Locked On Astros know that. But last week we talked about what's wrong with the Astros. I'm starting to think, you know what? Just everyone calm down. Best case is that they're in a division which has started off a lot choppier than anyone else thought they would. And with Valdez back a lot faster than I thought he was going to, and Verlander pitching well, and Blanco, I have a feeling that this 9-19 start will be a distant memory by the time we hit Memorial Day. Hey, do you know what it's time to do now? It's time to talk to our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. And let me tell you something, this is the best time of the year to be a sports fan. You've got the NBA playoffs going on. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs going on. Major League Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe and secure and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnMLB and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, it is America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV's channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local extras of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. John Mozeliak. I can never pronounce his name, and I need to write it phonetically on a Post-it note on my screen over there. But apparently he is going to step down either in 2020, at the end of this season, or I guess maybe the end of next, that he's going to step down and hand the car keys over to someone else as running the St. Louis Cardinals. And let me make a modest proposal. I know that the Cardinals had a good weekend against the New York Mets. In fact, they were one strike away from sweeping the series when Harrison Bader tied the game. Vientos hit the game-winning home run. So it was, in essence, a good weekend for the Cardinals, one that ended in a little bit of a bitter fashion. But even with that win, the Cardinals are a sub-500 team right now and have a terrible run differential of -23. Oh, but Sully, it's still April. They've only had this entire century. They've only had 2 losing seasons, last year and 2007. Would you relax? Stop being so hyperbolic. No, because this is not talking about just they had one bad season. This is an management, an ownership and a management that has seen the Cardinals from going from can't miss or basically an easy pick to win the pennant. There was a period of time, basically between 2004 and 2013, that if you wrote down your pick to win the pennant to be the St. Louis Cardinals, well, you look pretty smart. That's a pretty good pick. They didn't always win the pennant, but it was not a dumb pick to do at any point. Now, it's been a decade since they played in the World Series. And since winning the pennant in 2013, they've won one NLCS game, the walk-off home run by Colton Wong. They lost the rest of that series, and then they got swept in the NLCS in 2019, and they haven't made it to the NLCS yet this decade. Okay, but fine. They make the playoffs a bunch of days. They make it last year, and a couple of years ago they didn't make it then, but most of the time they're in it. Think about what has happened with this Cardinal team. There was a pipeline of terrific players that came up through their system. And if they lost one player, someone would come swooping back in. And since Mosaic took control of the team, think about some of the players who have been, oh, I don't know, huge successes with other team. Odolis Garcia. I'm sorry if I stumble across something. Garcia in the ALCS last year. Your ALCS MVP. Orozo Reina, when he was the ALCS MVP in the COVID year and later the Rookie of the Year. Sandy Alcantara won a Cy Young Award. Zach Gallen nearly won one himself. And look at Tyler O'Neill is doing for the Red Sox, or Harrison Bader is doing, and Jordan Montgomery winning a World Series for the Rangers last year. How many times do we see players leaving St. Louis and having great success, and the players they have aren't? I was listening to Locked On Cardinals, and some of the people, it was like a viewer listener thing about what are some of the best moves that Mosaic made, and the best move they made was bringing in Nolan Arenado. But I mean, are we really going to pat him on the back for that one? Are we going to pat him on the back for fleecing the Rockies in a salary dump? Meanwhile, we look up and we see, Arenado, he's still playing well, and Mason Wynn is off to a good start, but Jordan Walker is not there. Victor Scott's not there. Goldschmidt's having a rotten year. Contreras is having a good year behind the plate, but their big pick, Miles Michaelis is not pitching well. Kyle Gibson's not pitching well. Lance Lynn pitched well today. Steven Matt's been a bust. Sonny Gray's pitched well, but he's already the injury bug is starting to flow upon him. They got three really good relievers in Helsley, Romero, and Kittredge, and the rest of the bullpen is an absolute gamble at this point. And they're playing in an extraordinarily winnable division. And this has been bad move after bad move after bad move over a period of time where they went from surefire pennant contender to, hey, maybe we have a shot at a wild card in less than a decade with him having the car keys. And I believe if I'm the ownership of the Cardinals, I make a move sooner than later, because I don't trust this brain trust anymore. And I think they need to make a significant change. And if it means going to bring in a new GM or bring in a new group in mid-season, I know that's not something you normally do, but I don't trust this group with the next MLB draft. If I'm running the Cardinals, I'm saying, you don't get to draft. If you're moving on, I need new people in here. Should it be Kim Ng? I don't know. Should it be someone else? Kim Ng was, clearly she wasn't the problem with the Marlins, but, should you get, James Harris, who's running, the assistant, look at assistant GMs of other teams that have had success. James Harris of Cleveland, or Eve Rosenbaum of the Baltimore Orioles. There are people like, going through CBS Sports' article about, Carlos Rodriguez, who's been the assistant general manager of the Rays. Get these teams that are always producing players. I trust any of them over this Cardinal brain trust to draft the next great Cardinal team. The foundation that he inherited, it's gone. There's no more Wainwright. There's no more Molina. There's no more Pujols. And there's already one. What do you do with Goldschmidt? Do you trade him? He's gonna be a rental. You're not gonna get anything back for him. He's having a rotten start to his season. He's gonna be a free agent at the end of the year. You trade a ton of players to get Goldschmidt, and you won't get Biddly Poo back. I don't trust this Cardinal ownership or management. And if I were them, I said I wouldn't trust them to draft the next bunch of players into this team. They need a new direction. And I'm sorry if that seems like it's hyperbolic, but you know what? Show me that I'm wrong, that they've gone from constant pennant contender to fringe playoff contender and trading away stars left and right. And when players leave, they tend to get better. That's a bad sign. All right, before I leave, I'm going to bring up the trivia question. Oh my God, a ton of people commenting. So I should probably look at some of that. The Cardinals are like the Packers in a way. I don't follow football enough to know exactly. They're afraid to make moves. Everyone they move becomes an all-star. Yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty true. I like Oleander and Goldie. Well, Goldie has done piddly-poo this year. Um, and what else we got here? Jordan Walker can't get past the last 2 years as well. I like Pirates pitching. They bring Skeens. They might pip St. Louis. Hey, don't stay away from the Brewers or the Cubs for that matter, or the Reds for that matter. I think the Cardinals may have back-to-back, last place seasons, but we'll see. But I got to wrap up this show. By the way, here's a trivia question. We talked about Mexico earlier, and who was the first Mexican-born player, first person born in Mexico to play in the major leagues? That's your trivia question for today. I'm sure someone will know it. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about Mexico, talk about the Astros, and wondering what will happen with the Cardinals. It's been Locked On MLB for the 29th day of April 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.